sounds shallow, but the celeb stuff's and Paul Weller, I shot him, about a month ago or 2 months ago in lockdown, and that was he's like my absolute idol. And it was really weird just bowling into this. I shot him for Sunspell. He did a collaboration with them. It was weird bowling into this, Sunspell shop, and Paul Weller's there. I'm John Gorrigan, freelance photographer. I studied foundation studies in art and design at Lancaster Morecambe College, probably about 20 years ago. I can't remember the exact date. I think they really care about who they're taking on and who they're getting in through the doors. And I went to school in Dalham in Milnthorpe. Before I went to college, art and design was always more limited to sort of school art and design. And I remember just walking in there and just having all these just things I'd never heard of, really, printing ideas and presses and just being told what was available to me and trying new things. I tried all sorts of things I wouldn't have tried really, and just gave me, it was just a good creative year. It's the best year of my life to just try loads of stuff and see what I liked and what I didn't like, and it set me up for progressing and knowing what I wanted to study at a university afterwards. I decided graphic design might be the best sort of career path. So I went to Bristol to study graphics, and it didn't quite work out for me. About halfway through my course, I realised A, I wasn't very good at it, and B, I wasn't that interested in it. We had a friend of mine, a lad I lived with, his dad was a photographer for Rolling Stone magazine and National Geographic, and he used to come and stay with us, and he'd just really inspire. And they actually, Bristol University used to have a photographic department, but it shut the course, but they had all the facilities there, and they had one technician. So I used to just go and hang out with him, and he'd show me how to use the darkroom and a couple of studio bits and pieces and whatnot. I hung around in Bristol for another year, and I was just working in a coffee shop and sort of bumming about a bit. And then I decided, my friend of mine in London had a spare room, so I moved here, started working in coffee shops in London. And then a friend of mine, his girlfriend had just finished a course at LCC, London College of Communication, and that was a course called Professional Photography Practice. And because I'd never studied it, I thought I might have to study it properly, So it was a year's intensive course. It's a bit like the foundation course, a year's intensive photographic course in learning all the different areas and fields of photography and how you can make a career out of it at the end. I love landscapes, and that was my first love. I used to do large format landscape photography, but it's fine art photography, and like a lot of the arts, music, it's really hard to make a lasting career in landscape photography unless you're one of these lucky fellas who gets in with a gallery, and then you're laughing. But if you're not, it's a bit of a struggle. I left the LCC, and I managed to get a job doing studio assisting, which is where you work in a photographic studio, and you're on 50 quid a day. You're painting. You're there at 6 a.m. You're leaving at 10 p.m. It's a long day. We used to have 3 tiers of lunches, and I noticed that always there was like a base tier, which is however much per head, a medium, and an expensive one. And I noticed that there's all these different photographic jobs coming through the doors, and I noticed that the fashion jobs always had the best lunches. I'm going to follow that. It was the busiest part of the studio, and it seemed like the most exciting. Lots of people dressed stupid, and I was quite into it. So I started working in this photographic studio called Space Studios, and that was in de Beauvoir in London. And I did that for a couple of years. And in the photographic studio, there was a few offices with photographers, and I used to just go and chat to them when I had a minute and make them teas and whatnot. And then, you build up friendships. And then when their assistants couldn't work a certain day, they say, "Oh, do you want to come and work for me?" And I go and work with other people, some big-ish names in the photography world, and I found them hard work, and there's a lot of people getting overexcited and shouting, and when you're getting shouted at, you know, I was almost 30 and getting shouted at by another human being. Yeah. I wasn't having. You do these things called tests where you basically do your own shoot. I speak to a stylist and say, oh, look, have you got any clothes? I want to do a shoot like this. And then we'll get hair and makeup in. And you do these things called tests, which is like a free shoot. But the model agencies give you these budget, you know, the new girls, and you've got new hair and makeup, new stylists. Everyone's trying to show off. So they always end up coming out being not really what you had in mind. But you do those for a few months. And when you got a few tests under your belt, you start approaching mags and working, you know, trying to get your foot in the door. And I got a few jobs from there, and then it just sort of got better and better. But the original, as soon as the first jobs you get are just crap. So you have to take anything, not creative in the slightest, really. Just, but still, you know, still making a career out of an artistic job, which is good. And then the more you do and the better you get, you can start to get to a position. I mean, now I can pick and choose my jobs a bit more, and I shoot a lot of sort of portraits for newspapers now. And celebs, you know, celeb portraits and musicians and things. And that's exciting. That's probably what I'm most proud of, because it makes my parents excited. I flew to Cannes to shoot Helen Mirren. I've shot a load of footballers, and, you know, and that's exciting because I like football. And you can go on my website. I got a website. It's sort of in the process of getting redesigned, but there's my older website, which is just my name, johngorrigan.com. And then my Instagrams, that's the modern website now, isn't it? I pick up jobs off. Well, I pick up jobs off Insta now, which is a crazy thing. I never used to be bothered by it, but my wife's like, you've got to have an Instagram and a Twitter. And I said, well, have a Twitter. I'm going to start upsetting people. You can't think of any others. Is that all right?